night was colder than usual in downtown Atlanta. The streets were alive with the sounds of car horns, vendors calling out, and the restless footsteps of people rushing home after long days of work. But in one corner of the city, there was a different sound. A voice. It was the voice of a girl. Every click keeps these untold stories alive. Like and subscribe to help us share more. 15-year-old Emily Carter stood beneath a flickering street lamp on the corner of Peachtree and 8th, clutching a second-hand guitar almost too big for her small frame. Her coat was thin, her hands numb, but her voice, soft, trembling at first, carried through the air with surprising strength. She was singing a song she had written herself, a song about hope, about fighting for someone you love even when the world feels like it's crumbling. In front of her, an old shoebox sat open with a handwritten sign. "Every dollar goes to help my brother, Ethan. He's sick. Please help us." People passed by without looking, some quickening their pace as though afraid her voice would reach their hearts. Others glanced for a moment, but the weight of their own lives pulled them away. Only a handful of coins rattled in the box, not nearly enough for what she needed. But Emily didn't stop. She couldn't stop, because Ethan, her 9-year-old brother, was lying in a hospital bed just a few miles away, fighting a rare disease that was slowly draining the life out of him. Their mother was gone, taken by cancer when Emily was just 10. Their father had walked out 2 years ago, unable to handle the crushing weight of responsibility. That left Emily, the little sister who suddenly had to become the big sister, the caretaker, the protector, the fighter. Life had never been easy for Emily. After their father left, she and Ethan had bounced from one tiny apartment to another, scraping by on what little she could earn babysitting and cleaning houses after school. When Ethan got sick, the doctors spoke in hushed tones and with numbers she couldn't understand. But what she did understand was the word expensive. The treatments, the medicine, the hospital stays, they all came with bills that stacked higher than the little pile of coins in her shoebox ever could. But Emily was stubborn. She believed that love could make the impossible possible. She believed that if she sang hard enough, with enough heart, someone would listen. Someone would care. So every night after visiting Ethan in the hospital, she stood on that street corner, singing until her throat ached, until her fingers were raw from the guitar strings, until the city lights blurred with her tears. That night felt different though. She was exhausted, her body weak from skipping meals to save money for Ethan. Her voice cracked on the high notes, and for the first time, she felt doubt creep in. "What if I can't save him?" she whispered to herself during a pause, staring at the few crumpled bills in the shoebox. "What if I'm not enough?" Her chest tightened with fear. She thought of Ethan's smile, the way he'd squeeze her hand in the hospital and say, "Don't worry, Em, you're my hero." She shook off the doubt, wiped her eyes, and strummed the guitar again. She lifted her voice louder, singing a song about heroes. Not the kind in capes, but the kind who show up when you need them most. And then, something unexpected happened. A deep, unmistakable voice cut through the hum of the street. "Young lady," the voice said gently, "you have a gift." Emily froze, her eyes wide as she looked up. There, standing only a few feet away, was none other than Morgan Freeman, the Oscar-winning actor, the voice of wisdom, the man whose face she had only ever seen in movies and documentaries. He was dressed simply, dark coat, cap pulled low, but his presence was undeniable. People around them stopped, their phones already rising to capture the moment. Traffic slowed as drivers craned their necks to see what was happening. Emily's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She suddenly felt small, her guitar old and cracked, her voice shaky. But Freeman didn't look at her with judgment. He looked at her with warmth, with the kind of understanding that felt like he had known her struggle all along. "Why are you out here singing in the cold?" he asked. Emily swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. "For my brother. He's sick, and I don't know how else to help him." Something in her words, in her trembling tone, seemed to pierce the air. Freeman nodded slowly, as though her pain was something he recognized deep in his soul. He stepped into the street and raised his hand. Cars screeched to a halt. For a moment, it felt like time itself had paused. "Ladies and gentlemen," Freeman's voice boomed, carrying effortlessly above the noise of the city. "We live in a world where we walk past suffering every day, blind to the miracles standing right in front of us. This young lady is singing to save her brother. If that doesn't move your heart, I don't know what will." A hush fell over the crowd. Then, slowly, people began to move closer. One man dropped a $20 bill into the shoebox. A woman added $50. Another pulled out her wallet and emptied it completely. Before long, the shoebox was overflowing, bills spilling onto the sidewalk. Strangers who had never noticed Emily before were now standing shoulder to shoulder, moved by her courage and by Freeman's words. Freeman reached into his coat and pulled out his own checkbook. Right there, in front of everyone, he wrote a check and tucked it gently into Emily's hand. "This," he said softly, looking into her tear-filled eyes, "is for Ethan. But more than that, it's a reminder that you're not alone in this fight." Word of the moment spread like wildfire. Videos flooded social media. Headlines the next morning read, "Morgan Freeman stops traffic to help singing girl save her brother." Donations poured in from across the country. A local charity picked up Emily and Ethan's story, covering their medical expenses. The hospital even announced they would waive some of Ethan's treatment costs, inspired by the community's response. Emily didn't just save her brother, she inspired thousands. Her voice, once ignored on a street corner, now echoed across the world as a symbol of love, resilience, and the power of kindness. Ethan's health began to improve. The treatments worked. And every time Emily visited, he would grin and say, "See? I told you, you're my hero." But Emily knew she hadn't been alone. A stranger had stopped traffic, and in doing so, reminded the world that miracles can happen when we decide to care. The story of Emily and Morgan Freeman is more than just about money or fame. It's about the truth that sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest messages. It's about how love drives us to do impossible things. And it's about the reality that while the world can be cold and unkind, it only takes one person, one voice, to stop traffic and change everything. And for Emily, that night on the corner would forever remind her that hope sings the loudest when you're singing not for yourself, but for someone you love. Thanks for watching.